I never thought success could destroy the very people I loved most. But the day my mom found out about my salary, everything changed. She didn't call to congratulate me. She called to claim me. And by the time she showed up, with my spoiled brother standing beside her, it was already too late to go back. My name is Julia, and for most of my life, I believed that family meant love, sacrifice, and understanding. I worked hard, really hard, to get where I was. From late nights in a small apartment, surviving on instant noodles and unpaid internships, to finally landing my dream job at a marketing firm in the heart of the city. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Every morning I walked to work with coffee in hand, feeling proud that I was finally building something for myself. But deep down, a part of me always feared what would happen if my family found out how much I was making. You see, my mother, Linda, was never truly proud of me, at least, not in the way I hoped. She had always favored my younger brother, Ethan, the golden child. He was charming, carefree, and completely irresponsible. While I was studying for exams, he was out partying. While I saved money for tuition, he borrowed and never returned it. And every time he failed, Mom would say, "He's just a boy, Julia. Don't be so hard on him." But when it came to me, one mistake and I'd hear, "You should have known better." So I learned to keep my wins quiet. My new job. My promotion. My new apartment. Even my salary, especially my salary. Until that one call. It was a Sunday morning, and I was making breakfast when my phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen. For a moment, I smiled, thinking maybe, just maybe, she wanted to catch up. "I was wrong, Julia," she said, her tone sharp. "How much are you making now?" The question caught me off guard. Why do you ask?" She sighed heavily. "Don't play dumb. Ethan told me everything. You're earning more than both of us combined." My heart sank.
Ethan. Of course. I tried to stay calm. "Mom, I didn't mean to hide it. You just didn't want to help your own family," she cut in. "Your brother needs a new car. He can't even get to his classes because his broke down. You can easily afford to help him." Help him. That's what it always was. Help him. Even when he refused to help himself. I took a deep breath. "Mom, I've been working hard to save. Rent, bills, future." But she wasn't listening. "Julia, don't be selfish. We raised you. The least you can do is give back. We'll talk when I come over." And just like that, she hung up. That evening, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, my mother was standing there, with Ethan beside her, arms crossed, smirking. "Nice place," he said, stepping inside without waiting for me to invite him. "You've done well for yourself." Mom followed, scanning my apartment like she was inspecting something she owned. "You didn't tell us you moved here," she said, her tone cold. I tried to smile politely. "I wanted to surprise you." "Well, you did," she interrupted. "Now, let's talk about something important." Ethan slouched on my couch, pulled out his phone, and said casually, "Mom says you can help me out. Just a few thousand. I'll pay you back." I almost laughed. He'd never paid anyone back in his life. I looked at Mom. "This isn't how it works, Mom. I can't just." Her eyes narrowed. "Julia. Don't forget where you came from. You wouldn't have this job without our sacrifices." There it was. The guilt card. The one she always used when she didn't get her way. I wanted to scream, but I held it in. "Mom, I love you both, but I can't be responsible for Ethan's problems anymore. I'm trying to build my own life." Her voice rose. "So that's what it is? You think you're better than us now?" I froze. The words hit harder than I expected, all my years of trying to make her proud, and this is what I got. Ethan stood up. Forget it, Mom. She's just greedy. Greedy. That word burned. They walked out of my apartment that night, slamming the door behind them. And for the first time in years, I felt completely alone. But I didn't know then. That was only the beginning. The betrayal that followed would cut deeper than I ever imagined. They say betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the ones who know your heart and still choose to break it. I didn't know that lesson yet. But I was about to learn it, in the cruelest way possible. Days passed after that night. The silence from my mother and Ethan felt heavier than words. No calls. No messages. No apology. And a small part of me, foolishly, hoped maybe they'd calm down. Maybe they just needed time. I buried myself in work. Deadlines. Meetings. Late-night projects. If I kept myself busy enough, maybe the ache in my chest would quiet down. But one Friday afternoon, everything fell apart. I was sitting in my office, sipping coffee, when my manager, Mr. Grant, walked in with a serious expression. "Julia, can we talk for a second?" My heart skipped a beat. Of course. He shut the door behind him and handed me a paper. It was a notice, a bank transfer request, under my name. Except I hadn't made it. "It says here," he began, "that you authorized a large transfer to a private account, family-related. Is that correct?" My breath caught. "What? No. I never," he frowned. "It was processed this morning through the online payroll system. You might want to check with your bank." I grabbed my phone instantly, logged into my account, and froze. $8,000. Gone. Withdrawn under my authorization. Except I never touched it. I called the bank immediately, panic shaking my voice. They confirmed the request had come through a verified code, sent to my email. My personal email. And that's when it hit me, Mom. She had my old passwords. I'd shared them years ago when she helped me apply for college. My vision blurred with anger. My hands trembled. Could she really? No. No, she wouldn't. Would she? I rushed home that evening, heart pounding. The moment I entered my apartment, I saw her sitting on the couch. Ethan beside her. Like nothing had happened. "Mom?" My voice cracked. "What did you do?" She looked up calmly. "You mean what we did, Julia? We just took what we deserved." I stepped closer. "You stole my money." Ethan scoffed. "Relax. It's not stealing if it's family. You have plenty. We just borrowed it." Borrowed. That word again. A word that had no meaning in our house. "Why, Mom?" I whispered. "How could you do that to me?" Her eyes were cold. "Because you've forgotten where you came from. You think you're better than us, sitting in your fancy office while your brother struggles. This family raised you. You owe us." "Oh." The word sliced through me like a blade. "I don't owe you my dignity," I shouted, tears spilling. "I've given you everything I could. But this is too far." She stood up. "Be careful how you speak to me, Julia. We're your family. You'll understand one day." Then she walked out, Ethan following with a smug grin. I fell to my knees. That night, I cried like I hadn't cried in years. Not because of the money, but because the people I loved most had turned into strangers, days turned into weeks. My work suffered. I couldn't focus. Every phone ring made my stomach twist. Rumors started spreading in the office about financial misconduct. Apparently, the company had flagged my name for unauthorized activity. I tried to explain, but who would believe me? Who would believe that my own mother and brother had used me like that? I received a warning notice. Another, and I'd be suspended. That night, I called Mom, not in anger, but desperation. Please, I begged. Send it back. I'm losing my job. She didn't even hesitate. Julia, we needed it more than you. Ethan's tuition, his bills. Something broke inside me that night. The version of me that always forgave, always stayed quiet, she was gone. All that was left was resolve. If they wanted to take advantage of my success, I'd show them what real independence looked like. I decided I wouldn't just fight back. I'd rebuild myself stronger than before. The next morning, I walked into the office early. I explained everything to Mr. Grant, from the password theft to the betrayal. He didn't say much, but he looked at me with quiet understanding. Take some time off, Julia, he said. Fix what you need to. You've earned that right. For the first time, someone believed me. I changed every password, froze my accounts, and contacted the bank for an investigation. And then, I made one final decision. I was cutting all contact with Mom and Ethan. No calls. No visits. No explanations. They wanted my money, not my love. But I knew karma had its way of circling back. And deep down, I felt something coming. Something that would turn everything around. Because when people betray your trust, they forget that trust was the only thing protecting them. Sometimes, revenge doesn't start with anger. It starts with truth. And the truth, when exposed, burns brighter than any flame of hate. That morning felt different. The city outside was alive, car horns, chatter, morning rush, but my apartment was silent. Too silent. I opened my laptop, clicked on the email, and read the subject again. Urgent, regarding your family. My heart pounded. The message was from the bank's fraud investigation department. Dear Ms. Julia. During the ongoing verification process, we've identified multiple transfers from your account to secondary accounts connected under the same family ID registration. Please confirm if you authorized the following. And below it, a list of transactions. Not just the $8,000 I knew about. There were 7 more. Dates. Amounts. Names. Each linked to a credit card under Linda M. Carter, my mother's name. And one joint account with Ethan Carter. I stared at the screen, my hands trembling. They hadn't stopped after the first time. They had been draining my savings for months. I felt my stomach twist. Every dollar I'd worked for, quietly stolen. But what truly broke me was a note attached to one of the transfers. Payment for vehicle purchase E. Carter. They used my money to buy Ethan a car. The same brother who had called me greedy. My breath came short. My fingers clenched. No more tears. No more pleading. This time, I wasn't going to be the victim. I was going to expose them piece by piece. That weekend, I visited an old friend, Mara, a lawyer who'd helped me once during a freelance dispute. She listened quietly as I explained everything, the stolen money, the forged authorization, the emotional manipulation. When I finished, she looked at me with steady eyes. Julia, she said, what they did is identity theft. It's a serious offense. But before you take legal action, ask yourself, what do you really want? Her question hit me harder than expected. What did I want? Did I want revenge? Justice? Closure? Maybe all 3. I took a deep breath. I don't want them in jail. I just want them exposed. I want them to feel what I felt, powerless. Mara nodded. Then we'll do it the right way. She guided me on how to gather digital evidence, bank logs, email trails, IP addresses. Every screenshot, every login, every code, all linked back to my mother's house. By Sunday night, I had everything. And I knew exactly what my next move was. I didn't call them. I didn't warn them. Instead, I went home. Back to the house I grew up in, the place filled with memories that now felt poisoned. When I walked through the door, Mom looked up, surprised. "Julia? I didn't expect you." "I'm sure you didn't," I said quietly. Ethan was sprawled on the couch, phone in hand, smirking like always. "Here to finally apologize," he joked. I didn't smile. Instead, I placed my laptop on the table and turned it toward them. "Do you recognize these?" I asked, scrolling through the bank statements. Mom's eyes darted nervously. "What are you talking about?" "These," I said, my voice steady, "are the transactions you made. Every transfer, every withdrawal, all traced back to your accounts." Ethan's smirk faded. Mom swallowed hard. "Julia, that's not." I cut her off. "Don't lie. The bank verified it. I have your digital signatures, your IP address, even your device ID. You didn't just take my money, you impersonated me." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Mom's mask cracked. Her voice rose, trembling with frustration. "I did what I had to do. You think you can just leave us behind? You wouldn't even give your brother a little help." "A little help?" I interrupted. "You emptied my savings, Mom. You destroyed my credibility at work. I could have lost everything." She shook her head, tears forming. "You'll understand one day when you're a mother." I stared at her, speechless. Was that her excuse? Love twisted into control? Ethan stepped forward, glaring. "You're just bitter. You always wanted to be better than us." I looked at him, the brother I once adored. And I said the words I never thought I'd say. "No, Ethan. I just wanted to be free from you." Before I left, I opened my laptop again. "This," I said, "is the official report. If you don't return the money within a week, the case becomes public. Every record, every email, every message, will be submitted to the authorities." Mom went pale. "You wouldn't dare." I met her eyes. "Try me." Then I closed the laptop, picked up my bag, and walked away. The sound of that door closing behind me felt like ending a chapter and starting another. For once, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt powerful. But revenge wasn't over yet. Because exposing them wasn't just about money. It was about dignity. And sometimes, dignity demands one last lesson. Days passed. No call. No apology. Then, exactly 7 days later, I received a notification. $24,000 credited to your account. They returned everything. Every stolen cent. But that wasn't the end. The next day, my company's HR called me in. Mr. Grant smiled as I entered. "Julia, we got the official bank clearance. Turns out your account was compromised, just like you said." He leaned back, nodding. "We're reinstating your bonus. And there's a promotion opening soon." For the first time in weeks, I smiled. Not because of the promotion. But because I had finally reclaimed my peace. Still, one last message was waiting for me that night. A voicemail. From Mom. Her voice was small, almost broken. "Julia. I'm sorry. I didn't realize what I was doing. Ethan's gone. He took the car and left. I don't know where he is. Please, call me." I listened, but I didn't call back. Not yet. Some wounds need silence before healing, but a week later, I saw Ethan again. Not in person, but on a viral news post. A luxury car. An accident. And one name trending everywhere, Ethan Carter. My heart sank as I read the headline. Because sometimes, karma doesn't wait for your permission, they say karma doesn't knock. It breaks down the door when it's ready. And when it came for my brother, I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty. The morning it happened, I was getting ready for work. The sun was soft, the kind that makes the city look peaceful for once. For the first time in months, I felt light, like the storm had finally passed. Until my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. Hello? A voice I didn't recognize spoke quickly, almost breathless. Is this Julia Carter? Yes, who's this? This is Officer Daniels from the City Police Department. I'm calling regarding your brother, Ethan Carter. My world froze. In one heartbeat, all that calm vanished. What happened? I whispered.
There's been an accident, he said gently. A single-car crash last night. He's alive, but in critical condition. He listed you as an emergency contact. For a second, I couldn't breathe. Everything around me blurred, the walls, the light, even the sound of the officer's voice. Alive. Critical. Hospital. The words echoed in my head like thunder. The corridors smelled like antiseptic and fear. Every step I took felt heavier than the last. When I reached room 306, I saw him. Ethan. Bruised. Bandaged. Machines beeping beside him. He looked small. Like the arrogant boy who thought he owned the world had finally faced something he couldn't control. Mom was there too, sitting beside his bed, eyes red and swollen. When she looked up and saw me, she broke down. Julia, she cried, I didn't know what to do. They said he was driving too fast. He hit a divider. I couldn't speak. I just stood there, staring at him. He looked peaceful, almost childlike. It was strange, how even the people who hurt you could still pull at your heart in moments like this. Mom reached for my hand. I was so wrong, she whispered. I pushed you away. I let him use you. I thought I was protecting him. But I destroyed both of you. Her words broke something inside me, not anger, not pity, but grief. Mom, I said quietly, I never wanted revenge. I just wanted you to see me. She cried harder. I see you now, Julia. I swear, I see you. The next few days were a blur of hospital visits, paperwork, and silence. Ethan was unconscious for 2 days. On the 3rd day, he finally opened his eyes. When he saw me, he looked confused. Then ashamed. I thought you'd never come, he said weakly. I pulled a chair beside him. You're my brother. I had to. He swallowed, his voice trembling. Mom told me everything. About the money, what we did to you. I was angry at the world, Julia. But I took it out on you. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to shout, to remind him of the humiliation, the betrayal. But I couldn't. Not here. Not now. He looked down. I don't deserve forgiveness. I sighed softly. Maybe not yet. But you deserve a chance to change. For the first time, his eyes softened. Why aren't you angry? I smiled sadly. Because I've learned something, Ethan. Anger keeps you tied to the people who hurt you. And I'm done being tied. When Ethan was discharged 2 weeks later, I helped with his paperwork, quietly, without words of blame. Mom was different too. The coldness in her tone was gone. She'd aged somehow, not just in face, but in spirit. One evening, as we left the hospital, she stopped me near the parking lot. Julia, she said softly, you've become stronger than I ever imagined. I don't know if I can fix everything, but I want to try. I nodded. Start with honesty, Mom. That's all I ever wanted. She smiled faintly, tears in her eyes. And maybe one day, you'll forgive me too. Maybe. Not today. But maybe someday. Weeks passed. Ethan started attending therapy. Mom took a part-time job to support herself. And me? I threw myself into work, but this time, it wasn't about escaping. It was about living. Mr. Grant called me into his office again one Friday afternoon. He handed me a folder with a smile. "Congratulations, Julia. You're officially promoted to senior manager." I blinked. "Really?" "You earned it," he said simply. "And not just for your work, but for how you handled everything with grace." As I walked out of his office, the world outside looked brighter. The same city that once felt cold now felt alive again. Maybe because I wasn't carrying bitterness anymore. One night, as I sat on my balcony, I looked out at the lights of the city. The same lights that once hid my pain, my tears, my anger. And I whispered to myself, "You can lose everything, money, trust, even family. But if you don't lose yourself, you can rebuild it all." That's what I had done. Piece by piece, breath by breath. And as I leaned back, I realized something important. Forgiveness isn't about letting others escape guilt. It's about setting yourself free. I forgave them, not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace. When Mom discovered my salary, I thought I'd lost everything. But in truth, I found myself. I found strength in silence, courage in heartbreak, and freedom in forgiveness. Because revenge may give you satisfaction, but healing gives you peace. They say the past never really leaves you. It just stops screaming when you finally learn to listen. For me, it didn't disappear. It transformed. 6 months. That's how long it had been since everything fell apart. And somehow, everything began again. Julia stood by her apartment window, coffee in hand, watching the city pulse beneath her. Same skyline. Same noise. But this time, it didn't feel suffocating. It felt alive. She'd moved to a quieter part of town, small apartment, big balcony, and peace that didn't depend on anyone else. The plants she kept alive on the railing were proof she was learning to nurture again. On the table beside her sat a framed photo, not of her family, not of the past, but of her first business team. A group of 5 young women she'd hired from scratch for her startup, Aurora Consulting. She smiled. From a broken daughter to a CEO? It still felt surreal. When Julia left her corporate job, people called her crazy. "Why would you give up stability?" they said. "After everything, don't you want safety?" But Julia wasn't chasing safety anymore. She wanted freedom. And freedom required risk. So she started small, one client, one project, one sleepless night at a time. Her living room became her office. Her notebook, her roadmap. There were setbacks, rejections, financial stress, moments where she almost gave up. But each time doubt whispered. She remembered that hospital room. And the girl she used to be. She promised herself she'd never return to that helpless silence again. It was a Friday afternoon when she walked into a local cafe to meet a client. As she ordered her latte, she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Julia?" She turned. It was Ethan. He looked different, thinner, quieter, humbled. Gone was the cocky arrogance. In its place was something softer. He smiled nervously. "Didn't think I'd ever run into you here." Julia hesitated, then smiled faintly. Guest life has a sense of irony. They sat. The silence between them wasn't heavy anymore, it was healing. "I've been clean for 4 months now," Ethan said quietly. "Therapy's been tough. But it's helping." "That's good," Julia said. And she meant it. He looked at her with guilt still hiding behind his eyes. "I don't expect forgiveness, Julia. I just hope one day you'll think of me as more than the person who ruined everything." She paused. Then softly replied, "I already do, Ethan. You're the person who taught me what I never want to become. And that's more valuable than you think." For a second, he looked stunned, then relieved. A single tear slipped down his cheek. Before leaving, she placed her card on the table. If you ever want work, something to rebuild yourself, call me. My company helps people like us start over. He stared at it, speechless. Julia, he whispered, you're really something else. She smiled. No, I just learned the hard way that revenge dies fast, but compassion lasts. Weeks later, Julia stood in front of a conference hall filled with young professionals, all women, all dreamers. The banner behind her read, Aurora Women's Summit, rise from your ruins. She took the stage, the mic trembling slightly in her hand, but her voice didn't. 2 years ago, she began. I was betrayed by the people I loved most. I lost everything I thought defined me, my job, my trust, my peace. The crowd listened, silent. But that pain became my teacher. It taught me that your worth isn't measured by who loves you, but by how much you love yourself when no one else does. Applause rippled through the hall. Julia continued. Don't let betrayal define you. Let it refine you. Because strength isn't born from comfort, it's forged in chaos. When she stepped down, her team surrounded her, proud smiles everywhere. She'd done it. Not for revenge. For rebirth. That night, Julia returned home late. The city was quiet, rain softly falling against her window. She lit a single candle, poured herself tea, and opened her journal. On the first page, months ago, she'd written, I want to be free. Now, beneath it, she added a new line. I am. As the rain continued outside, her phone buzzed, a message from her mother. Proud of you, Julia. Ethan just started work today. Thank you for giving us another chance. Julia smiled. For the first time in years, that message didn't reopen a wound, it healed one. She set her phone down, took a deep breath, and whispered, I forgive you, Mom. And I forgive me too. Some stories end with revenge. Mine ended with rebirth. Because when the pain fades, what's left isn't the scar. It's the strength beneath it. And maybe, just maybe, the person you become after the fire is the most beautiful version of you yet. Sometimes, the people who break you are the same ones who teach you what being whole really means. I used to think revenge would set me free. But freedom didn't come when they suffered. It came the day I stopped suffering for them. I don't hate them anymore. I don't need to. Because I finally built a life that doesn't depend on their apologies. The past still whispers sometimes. But now, I whisper back. I'm not yours anymore. So if you're listening to this, and you've been betrayed, broken, or forgotten, remember this. You are not what they did to you. You are what you choose to become after it. And that is how I found peace after the fire. Subscribe this YouTube channel for more interesting stories and also like the video and share with your friends. Thanks.